Without further ado, we find ourselves in game number 2 in this best of 3 quarterfinals. Spawning here in the lower right corner of the map, the Canadian player from Complexity Gaming, currently leading the series 1-0 with some very impressive, very fun play. It is the purple Zerg player, Hendralisk. And you can find him on Twitter at _Hendralisk. His opponent, though, in the upper left, the favorite for this series, but currently down 1, but not out, as he's got this game to fall back on. It is the Red Terran from my insanity coming from Europe, the Korean player Jjakji, who, of course, you can find on Twitter at @MYI_Jjakji. Go follow both of these guys. Do it right now. Do it right, meow. East Kate, right, meow. Anyways, Dataless Voice is an interesting feature. So to explain real quick, if you don't know how the ZOTAC Cup works, guys, it's a veto system. You veto down to 3 maps, and then you pick the order before you even go into game number 1. So while we don't know what the map order is, these guys do. And it's very interesting to me that Jjakji would leave this map in the pool. Now, Dataless Point is not the same as ZVP. This is not an auto-lose for Terran, but it's still not that favorable of a map, and it's not fun to deal with. Hendral's checking for proxies, by the way. The wide choke here at the natural, no matter what race you are, even for Zerg players, it's not fun to deal with. And this is where a lot of the focus or the attention on the map goes, right? Like, this is like, oh, you know, I can't wall off my natural, I have to, like, make units to take it. Fine, let's pretend this is a non-issue. How do you deal with this third, which is somehow more exposed than that natural ramp, right? So, like, whether you're Terran or Zerg, it doesn't really matter. This map could be a bit of a problem. I do want to give some props. Avilo played a game on this map where, okay, granted, he messed up the control a little bit during WCS, but he chose to proxy and hide a second factory for Blue Flame. And for a moment, if you think about it, guys, how many times do you keep Blue Flame at bay as a Zerg player by simply putting down 3 evolution chambers? Game over, man. You can't bust through the wall. Now roaches are out. GG. You might as well leave. But on Dataless Point, that can't happen. So there's the potential for Jjakji to do something like that. Now, I do want to point out, before we get too hyped about Hendralisk winning that first game, he won it decisively. He earned that victory, and it was really cool. It's not like Jjakji was playing like a bad or anything like that. But he was using mech, something you don't see him often utilize. He is best skilled with his bio, that much is for certain. And opening with a Reaper this game, I imagine we're going to see the more common play of, like, you know, a Reaper paired with some Hellions for that secondary push. We'll see how it goes, though. It's a little bit hard to call for the time being. Lings are coming out, though. Metabolic Boost has begun, and of course the Queens as well to match with this. Reaper is not going to be able to get too much done here. Jjakji looks like a couple Lings, have been rallied across the map to go to the natural. He didn't make that second Reaper, curiously enough, going for the reactor instead to get the Hellions out a little bit quicker. No Lings dead just yet. Impressive control here out of Hendralisk so far, and no build cancels have been necessary. Now that the Queen's out, the Reaper's actually going to be sent back. Neither player really losing anything to that. So a pretty good opener for both. Strong and alive is the Reaper, but also are all of those Lings. And of course they're going to slowly regen. This is not Starbow. You don't get that sick regen bonus on creep. Oh, but this is the problem all Terran players face. He still completes the command center, though. Jjakji, what a badass. So I was going to say, the problem is, like, a lot of the times these Lings get across the map, and they get on your SCV, and you're forced to either pull off or cancel it, or not cancel the building, but cancel building it at like, you know, 99%, and that's the most irritating thing to deal with as a Terran player. But gets the command center complete, which means he makes the orbital, which means he actually really loses no time from this whatsoever. The SCV dying was a non-issue. If you lose the SCV before it finishes, that's like another 30 seconds, 15 seconds. You know, you gotta pull the SCV from the main, finish up the build, then start making it again. Another SCV will be not quite picked off here. Just saying, just nope, that's mine. But yeah, with Hellions out now, Hendralisk knows he can't really be on this side of the field for too much longer. Taking his own third base down here. Still, again, the very exposed problem for this map does represent itself here for Zerg players as well. There's also the issue of this cliff. It's not difficult for Jjakji to drop units here, pick up and go here, and then jump up to the third, and then back down to the main. Like, or, well, not main, but like ground level. So, like, there's 3 levels of annoyance that the dropship can really utilize, which is why Banshees, or sorry, not Banshees, Banshees are on the way. I was gonna say why Mutalisks are gonna be a little bit more prevalent, a little more important on this map. That being said, you can go for a really abusive Swarm Host style if your opponent decides to go mech. It's not fun holding off what could be 30 plus Swarm Hosts. Again, I referenced the game of Velo versus Jig. It is on our YouTube channel from WCS, and I think Jig went for like 38 Swarm Hosts or something like really fast. Like he rushed them, like it wasn't like a slow build, and it was just powerful and choking are the two ways I could describe that, I guess. But a couple Lings trying to get across the map will find themselves running into a bunker. Into the mineral line they go. Should be able to pick off at least an SCV. Maybe 2 if they're lucky, but no, Marines and the Hellions will respond. Jjakji did, of course, poke with some Hellions himself to do a little bit of damage. Didn't get a whole lot done. Poked away to the Queen. I think canceled a tumor. But, yeah. Still in this. Rocking it solid. We got some Banshees picking up now with this. Going to make this push a little bit stronger. I'm a little bit scared for Hendralisk right now, guys. He doesn't have a lot right now. There's a map played not too long ago, Heart versus Suppy, where it looked very similar to this, where Suppy just had a really low army count and could not hold off this sort of this aggressive little poke, and that's what's going to happen here. The Queens are going to fall. A couple of Hellions will still be alive, so the Lings won't be able to do too much here with the ground forces. Trying to retreat back towards the other Queen. Of course, doesn't have really detection. Now that the Spore Caller's done, maybe can hold on to this. Maybe. I say maybe very tentatively, though. It looks like the Queen will live. Hellions going to run through here to the third base. Hendralisk still in this and still holding on quite nicely. Still has that Banshee to worry about, though. Not fun dealing with Hellions, but will eventually finally clean them up. The Banshee goes down, too. Of course, the vision and the detection from a Spore Caller is a little bit... Or, sorry, the detection from the Spore Caller is bigger than its vision, which is bigger than its range. But still has the follow-up of Hellions and Banshees to deal with. Trying to run past them and around them to attack from multiple angles. Love the engagement paths that Hendralisk is taking right now, but Jjakji's just got too much and is a little bit too strong. Even though these Hellions are barely alive, he is one of the few Terran players who does often make an effort to repair his units, so they will be available for round 2. 1-1 finishing up here in just a second here for Hendralisk. Coming up on that layer, should be able to get those Mutalisks out in due time, but of course with everything eating all of his attention, he's not been able to super saturate his bases. Still on 60 drones, looking pretty strong though. Would like to see Jjakji probably build a Viking, honestly. There's so many Overlords floating around on the map, and this is a rather large map. Despite the fact that it's got some of the shorter rush distance. I think it's one of the shorter rush distances. I don't know if it's the shortest, but despite the fact it's a very wide map, it's not a very long map from base to base, so it's very easy for either player to really attack quickly. Looks like Jjakji will be exercising his mech once again, though. Double armories on the way, and extra factories being made at the main. So Hendralisk, perhaps unaware of this, not going to be able to do too well initially. And that's what's kind of scary for a Zerg player. Like, if you go into this assuming it's going to... Well, okay, with this many Hellions, there's no way he can assume it's going to be bio anymore. But unless you see something like Blue Flame, there's nothing that really definitively reveals this. But there's so many Hellions. Engaging with the Lings will not be easy. Does get a really nice surround here. Hendralisk now forced to take the fight at the corner of the base. Will be able to kill quite a few of these Hellions. And the Banshees, of course, still going to present a bit of a problem. But losing all the Hellions for Jjakji also gives up a lot of map control. That yields any chance to keep the creep back. There's Hellbats at home, and he's not going to die from a counterattack anytime soon. The Banshees are still going to be quite annoying. This Queen, ooh, please transfuse it. No, it dies in a fit of... Oh, gosh, that ribcage is huge. Yuck. Banshee dies to the Spore Caller. Love that positioning. It's the transfer protector, as I like to refer to it. But Thors are on the way, not siege tanks. Not going to be caught off guard by this again. Not sure if he saw the Hellbats, though, but at this point, there's no way Hendralisk... If he makes Mutalisks, I'm going to be a little sad, I'm not going to lie. Because he's got to know this is mech. And a big part of why you see a lot of Terran plays... So that's the big thing, too. Mech wasn't popular, like, let's say 6 months ago, right? Like, players were doing it, but it wasn't the go-to. And now, whether it's GSL, whether it's IEM, you're seeing a lot of players use mech more and more. And a big part of that is thanks to the way the Thors are incorporated into this. Let's be honest, guys. The biggest thing Terran players struggle with right now are dealing with Mutalisks. They're nasty, they're really strong, they're regenerative, and they're way too fast for a lot of people to keep up with. So, rather than play Biomine... Whoa, hold that thought! The Lings will run by. We'll get a couple SCV kills here. Won't be able to do too much thanks to the Hellbats coming to clean it up. But still, Jjakji with his guard down for just a second. Going to cost him a couple of workers. Not too many, though, as stated. Actually, going to kill the refineries here on the third. This is kind of big. As a meching player, your gas is the most precious resource to you. minerals are somewhat irrelevant. Mutalisks are not going to be too bad against low numbers of Thors like this, but the point I was trying to drive home before, guys, is Thors are so good at just being that anti-Mutalisk unit. And because you rely more heavily on gas, you end up having more minerals floating. You can start putting down like 80 turrets per base and really just solidify yourself against Mutalisks. But Hendralisk will still be able to get some pretty decent use out of them. If you magic box them on top of the Thors, you can take some fun fights. But with 4 Thors, even with your Mutalisk spread out, this is not an engagement that Hendralisk wants to go straight into with his Mutalisk. So his best bet's going to be trying to circumnavigate around the base, use the fact that Thors are very slow and clunky to his advantage. But Jjakji, if he fortifies in, digs deep, he can take a fight pretty easily. I love the overexpansions going on right now too. He just secured this 4th, but is taking a 5th and a 6th at the same time. And a big part of this is because at this point in the game, at this stage of a mech game, Jjakji's not going to be moving out. He's going to be turtling up until he's got a force that's like 150, 180 supply before he even tries to move out. One of the best things you can really do is start incorporating late game Ravens into this, but of course they're also very, very expensive units. If Hendralisk had any idea though that Jjakji had not a single tank, sorry, does have a single tank in his army, 1 single tank, Swarm Host would be out, and Swarm Host would choke out his opponent so quickly. Thors are great, they pack a whole up, and they kill Swarm Host like they're nothing, but the Locust Waves are going to be impossible to deal with, I fear. Did he make a second Spire? Wait. Okay, I was like, wait, did I miss a drop and he lost it? But no, okay. Yeah, he did make a second Spire, so he's going to be able to make 1 greater Spire, go into upgrades later. There's some really, really important things that's going to happen here in a second, guys. Jjakji is going to have a lot of anti-air defense. Typically, Hendralisk playing against a mech player, what you want to do is go lots of Corruptors, lots of Broodlords, and you're never going to win the game with that initial push. But you do a tech swap after to either Ultralisks or Ro8s and try and catch your opponent off guard. Sometimes that initial push wins, though, because your opponent has no Viking count, no missile turrets, no Thors. But unfortunately, due to the Hellbat count and Blue Flame, there's no way. Oh, hold up, no Blue Flame. That could be a problem. Talk about that more in a moment if it comes up, but you know, the Broodlings are not going to get any damage done. The Hellbat's going to take care of those pretty easily, allowing the Thors to transform and focus on the Broodlords if at all necessary. But again, there's still Mutalisks flying about, 24 of them in fact, so transforming the Thors could be incredibly dangerous. I do like these hiding these. I was talking before about how Hendralisk is going to be going around the map trying to like get behind, pick off, do this and that. But everything that Hendralisk is doing right now is relying on the fact that Jjakji is going to be unprepared for what he throws at him. And I think the Broodlord is going to be a huge part of that. And it's got to be a greater Spire. I mean, he's going for double upgrades, but if he's just going to go pure Mutalisks, it's not something that's... It could work, but is most unlikely to work as far as what you can do versus a meching player. But extra starports are coming down. Sky is kind of the end game here for Terran players, 4 orbitals at a time, because this is another thing you'll do is quickly make a lot of command centers so that you can get rid of your SCVs. Massive bank for Hendralisk though, and an Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. So I like the static D he's got set up. Where's Jjakji scanning for right now? Okay, I don't see the scan. I wish you could see the scan. But doesn't know about these extra bases, worth noting. Doesn't see the top right, doesn't see the bottom left. And what Hendralisk is doing, I really like this. He's matching it up with not like an insane amount of Spore Crawlers or Spine Crawlers, but enough to like drive off drops and keep them back. Now, what's going to be really key is Ravens. Whether it's Seeker Missiles, whether it's Point Defense Drones, these are going to be critical in the upcoming fights. Seeker Missiles tend to be actually really bad in some scenarios. You know, really plays with a lot of good control, can run units with Seeker Missiles on them into your army, and it'll cost you everything as a mech player. Alternatively, if you can get those good hits at long range, you can destroy an entire Broodlord Corruptor army in one fell swoop. That being said, Point Defense Drones might be the best thing to do, but I'm talking this big game about Broodlords, and that appears to not even be happening. Hendralisk maybe going to save that for round 2. He's going into Ultralisk right now, 3/3s on the way, Chitinous Plating as well. I don't know that this is going to be the best solution. There's a lot of tanks now. There's a lot of Thors. Ultralisks are good against ground units. They're kind of like your anti-ground, just generic catch-all thing, but this is not... I don't know. This is going to be a bit fickle. So basically what's going to happen here is these Mutalisks are going to try and get on top of the Thors and focus them down. These are the biggest threat. It's not even the tanks. Tanks are kind of whatever. Okay, what the heck just happened there? The Hellbat got friendly fire down to 1 health. 1 HP for the win? Mutalisks have been revealed at this point, and this is not a small amount of Mutalisks, guys. This is 24 paired with 7 Ultralisks. Thors have this really dumb AI where they will auto-attack ground units over air units, so that'll give Hendralisk more time to spread out his Mutalisks and come in with one big attack. And of course the Ultras are going to eventually die, but not too quickly. Lots of static D being erected around the map, but Jjakji locked himself now into 4 bases. I don't imagine he'll have an easy time securing a 5th. If he can secure a 5th versus Hendralisk is doing something wrong. I mean, he'd be able to make one, but securing one's a whole different can of worms. Creep everywhere on the map, that 1 HP Hellbat. Gonna get, oh no. Oh no, he's gonna live, are you kidding me? Okay, good, never mind. Harry Potter Hellbat, not gonna happen. Looks like Spore Colors remain, but no Spine Colors down here to the south, so Hendralisk unfortunately will lose this base, but just mining Gasmer for the time being. He's got a pretty good bank going on behind this, and there's that Greater Spire. So doing it a little bit backwards than what I had anticipated, we'll probably transfer into Broodlords afterwards, hoping to catch enough Vikings off guard with this initial attack. Again, Vikings are a much bigger threat to Corruptors and Broodlords than really the Thors are. But of course, for Hendralisk, he's got to do as much damage as humanly possible, and this is a lot of turrets coming down here to protect against the Mutalisks. This is what I was talking about before. As a meching player, you're afforded the opportunity to just, supersede yourself in, root deep, and go for that static D. But look at all this area that Hendralisk has to go through. There's so many wide engagement areas. There's no way for Jjakji to possibly cover everything. And that's unfortunately going to be what happens down here towards the south. And the missiles are going to stay back. I like this a lot, actually. Not going to put them into the missile turrets. But the Ultras are actually really exposed and could actually just straight up die here. One Banshee's not going to do that much. Banshee DPS is really nice, but what's even stupid is like even 5 Banshees don't really take down an Ultralisk too quickly. Seeing the army in the position like this, though, Jjakji, he's got a couple of Ravens with this. Not a whole lot. Mutalisks are being split up into separate groups right now. And looks like a small link counterattack. Whoa, that's not even a small link. These are Glings with a 3-3 and Adrenal Glands. Going to gut the SCVs here for the natural. Move towards the main here. There's some Hellbats coming out, though, so he should be able to deal with this. And like I said earlier, Jjakji's going to be able to make a base, but I don't think he's going to secure this at any point in this game, because for Jjakji to come all the way down here to defend against this attack, he'd have to give up his main, his natural, like what's kind of happening. The armories being picked off are kind of neat, but not a big deal, because his opponent's on 3-3, Jjakji that is, so Hendralisk, he's getting some damage done for sure and for free. This is not a planetary fortress yet, but obviously he wants to make it one. A couple turrets being picked off here or there, but moving towards this base, there's some turrets, but again, this is a lot of Ultralisks. I don't like that Hendralisk is throwing away the Mutalisks for free, but, it frees up supply for new units, more units if he needs to. Does need to unclump them, though. A couple hits from these Thors could be the end of his day. Doesn't quite get to gut the base the way he wanted it to, and it looks like that wannabe planetary fortress is going to have to become the new 5th. Zergling Burrow down here is going to be a bit annoying, but Hendralisk has secured the rest of the map while this is happening. Lots of Vikings. And, of course, moving towards 3-3 with those upgrades for the air. Oh, sorry, that's not 3-3, that's level 2. But level 3 weapon upgrades are on the way, okay, guys? Okay. Vikings are going to make this fight a little bit scary, and of course the Thor volleys, oh my god, they just wrecked the Mutalisks, not even a chance. I would like to see a lot of Infestors. So, Infestors are another portion you don't see utilized too much, but once you get some Broodlords out mixed with them, you can kind of get this impossible to deal with number of Corruptors, and the Infestors will combination fungal the Vikings, but more importantly provide late game neural parasites if it gets that crazy. But fungal is going to be huge. I said that backwards, by the way. I meant to say more importantly fungal, because Vikings clump up like crazy, and they're not the easiest things to produce. Even if you've got, like, say, 5 factories at a time, or sorry, 5 starports at a time, all with reactors, Vikings are expensive is the problem. Thors are going to get involved with the fight. Mutalisks are a little bit tentative to engage. They know that the threat is there, and a small choke is going to force these Ultralisks back. But again, if he can get a fungal, he's going to get a fungal on the Ravens, too! He catches almost everything! A lot of Seeker Missiles are about to go off. If he runs into the army, though, Jjakji is going to lose a lot, but no friendly fire goes down. More Seeker Missiles on top of this army, and those Vikings should have died. If Hendralisk was paying a little more attention and brought the Mutalisks with the Seeker Missiles into the heart army, all of these Vikings would have died, and a Broodlord switch would have been devastating. But left with a lot of his Ravens and a lot of his Vikings still standing, Hendralisk evacuates the southern base, moves more northwards, sends the Ultralisks towards what is only a planetary fortress, and no siege tanks holding the line, just a couple of Thors hiding behind turrets. Sim City plays against Ultralisks so hardcore, but there's just not enough. There's not enough Ultras to keep pushing. A couple more coming towards the south. The Thors are going to be tickled by the Spine Crawlers, which have been uprooted but not burrowed. And Jjakji, well, he's still got a pretty maxed out army. Hendralisk has got space for it, but he doesn't. So you guys might be wondering, like, why isn't he instantly remaxing? He's got like a 5k bank. He has to know what to remax on. It looks like for now he's going to say it's Ultralisks and try to break his opponent again. Missile turrets do need to be dealt with, so he can send some units down here, but I believe all the Mutalisks were eradicated. Yes. Outright were all the Mutalisks taken out. Lots of static D being brought down here towards the north, but it looks like the planetary will go down, and Jjakji will not secure this base. Keep in mind, guys, he's building up a decent-sized bank himself, but Jjakji, if he can't take another base, will eventually starve out. He's mining essentially off of this one base only. This base is about to mine out soon, and the natural and the main are pretty much dead. As far as economy goes, I mean, of course. But Hendralisk did have to give up a base while that was going on. Remaxing purely on Ultralisks, not a fan of this choice. Really needs to get something else to support this. Whether it's going to be, I don't know, Infestors for Fungal, Mutalisks for ground air support, Corruptors and Broodlords, oh my, Queens for Transfuses, what have you. He can't win with just Ultralisks. Not against a Thor-based army like this. There's a decent amount of tanks here too, and let's not forget tanks are never bad to have, but Ling run by, going to try and catch him off guard again. Could pick up a Thor or two here, decides not to wrap around it. Unfortunately, 3/3 Lings with adrenal glands are pretty scary, but looks like not end-all be-all scary. Tanks out of position, albeit just shortly, will allow Hendralisk to move in, but this is not necessarily the best fight to take. Seeker missiles are going to have to blanket this army. Point defense drones go down to stop the Queens from doing damage, but every single Ultralisk has been targeted and tagged, and looks like pew 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 with that spell damage will take out this army. 26 Corruptors coming out though. Most of the Thors have been taken care of, but there's still a pretty large Viking standing. There's a lot of Ravens still available. Jjakji's army is not impregnable, but it's looking pretty darn scary. Broodlords are definitely going to be necessary as far as the tech swap goes, but he can't really afford to make them right away. Like, he needs to clear out that army in the air to really comfortably go for it. We've got what is a 29-minute Blue Flame finishing up here for our Terran player. Pretty standard stuff in the ZVT, if you know. I would really love to start seeing some Hellion run bys, honestly, even if it's just 4 at a time. I mean, there's a lot of static D, but let's say you wrap around this base, you get a couple Hellions back here, only 1 Spinecrawler's in reach, you fry most of those drones, but that'll have to be a thought for another day. Planetary Fortress is being rebuilt here on the front lines. Corruptors have such an incredibly slow attack. A beautiful fungal growth actually goes down on a lot of the Vikings, but there's Seeker missiles tagged in, and Hendralisk needs to split his army. Gonna take some splash damage here, pulls back a small amount, a little bit too late, and the Vikings are doing pretty good at keeping this back. Thors are adding some damage into this, but he's starting to get choked out. Flying over top of the Thors, though, is not something Hendralisk wants to do. Overextending a little bit too much and realizing it perhaps a little too late is forced to retreat. His bank has been exhausted, guys. He's got a lot of bases mining, but he doesn't have that mineral count that's just so insane to deal with. Planetary still standing, going to keep these Lings from doing too much. Planetary is like the anti-Ling run-by building that you want to build. So huge mule drop down here is going to put a big spike in Jjakji's economy. Neither player is going to be able to really max out too easily again. But SCVs, like I said, diligently being used to repair. Jjakji is one of the few players who actively always repairs his mech, and I like it. Unfortunately, you're not afforded the same opportunity. They got a really slow regen, and maybe you use Queens for transfuses, but not going to happen anytime soon. You can morph the low health Corruptors into Broodlords, I suppose. You know what could be really good, honestly, guys, at this point, is have like 50 Lings up here ready to go. Send the Broodlords, make it scary, draw Jjakji's entire army towards the south, towards what is the most important mining base of Jjakji right now, and then run in with the Lings and kill the production. Maybe? I don't know. It's hard to say as a Zerg player, because when you let the game get this late, it's very difficult to deal with. The Infestors are a really cool choice, but they don't have Neural Parasite. And if you could posture for a second Neural Parasiting these Ravens, taking them out of the fight, much less using them against his opponents, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. No Broodlords available, just fungal growths to rely on and some infested Terrans. This is not going to work for Hendralisk, and this base towards the north is incredibly important. Like I said, he doesn't have a large mineral count. We got Ultralisk coming out. The Corruptors are so low, they can't really fight, and the Spinecrawlers are doing what they can add into this. Ravens put on the front lines actually going to cost them their lives to the Spore Crawlers. That's kind of huge, because now there's actually not a lot of Spellcaster support. But again, the fungals that the Hendralisk needs are not going to be happening anytime soon. He can't push forward, unfortunately. In fact, he's got Burrow, but he's not able to save these units. A couple of infested Terrans are going to come down. There's the fungals, or say the Burrow we were looking for. Going to take out the Banshees. Actually, the Banshees will take out the infested Terrans. Man, these things suck compared to what they used to be. Still, though, on the front lines is Jjakji pushing. He doesn't have a lot on the ground, but he doesn't need a lot on the ground because Hendralisk doesn't have a lot to deal with it. Hell, Hendralisk can't even deal with the Banshees currently, which is a bit of a problem. Corruptors could be brought back into this, but he's trying to keep it in the front lines, hoping to bait out some Seeker missiles. Not going to happen anytime soon. And the Viking count is looking a little bit too good. Some more point defense drones going down. Hendralisk making one desperate push here to the north, but good game. Well played is called. And on dataless point of all maps, Jjakji will take it. And leaving up the series now 1-1, sending us to game number 3.